We're live. Hi.
Hey.
Hey, we're live. Hi. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Hey.
Oh, Kelly got in right at the start.
Wow,
Nice.
yeah, good timing.
Woohoo!
It's Monday. It's the 8th, December 8th edition of OUYA Dev Sport Office Hours. My name is Bob. Somewhere in the Culver City area is Mr. Jared Yeager.
Hello, everyone.
From Los Angeles area. it's
Santa Monica. I'm in the Santa Monica office.
Santa Monica, safe from the fires of LA.
Engulfing downtown.
Somewhere in Seattle is Mr. Tim Grauman.
Hey.
Cool, guys. Well, I hope you had a wonderful week and / weekend.
Yeah, everyone. Was everyone staying tuned to the Game Awards and the PlayStation Experience, both of which were in Vegas?
I watched and was happy I was not in Vegas. Nothing against PlayStation or anything, but I don't know, man. Maybe become an old man. I saw pictures of people like, here's my sushi with gold leaf, and here's this. I'm like, oh, I don't want any of this right now. I'm going to stick with my hot cocoa from Trader Joe's and my jammy jams, and I was happy. Not to say it wasn't impressive. It looked like a really great show. Excited for a lot of awesome devs that cool things coming. We're really happy about. Everything looks great, right? Like No Man's Sky, but like King's Quest looks fantastic. Gentlemen and my friends
Broken
over
Age
at
Act
Activision there.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hyper Light Drifter, I think they also were talking about, so that was really cool to see.
That's right, yeah, and Phenomena's new game, so it's all good stuff. And I agree, Kelly. We must hang out with the Nintendo VO guys. I would love them to be on office hours and work with us.
Yeah, if anybody caught it, the Game Awards, towards the end, they did a special video premiere of some in-game footage of the new Zelda. And of course, the people from Nintendo, the two guys, were speaking in Japanese, so they had voiceover for the whole video, and it was just pretty funny.
It was just, honestly, it wasn't as much funny as it was just like the happiest, jolliest, most innocent commentary you could ever have. Like, I want to reach deep into my soul and be there again.
Right, which is so Nintendo, right? Like, they just picked these two guys are just so happy.
So at the beginning of all that, you guys mentioned pajamas, and I keep hearing this commercial on the radio. It's Pajamagrams. You can get matching pajamas for all your kids and family and pets.
Cool.
Pajamagrams.
That is correct. I have heard that as well. You can get matching pajamas for the entire family and your pets and babies. Butt flaps and all, I believe. I think they're like sponsoring KCRW down here in LA as well, so yeah, it keeps getting played down here. They're definitely making a power play.
Listen to the new Serial episode, speaking of podcasts.
Oh, man. Are you all caught up on that? Oh, it's so good.
I'm all caught up, yeah.
Did you feel like this was a good episode?
It's tough because there's so much momentum behind it now. You know, I feel for the woman, the lead person on it, because
Sarah Koenig.
I just can't imagine. The only thing closest I can, maybe Bob, you can imagine what she's going through, having experienced all the press and momentum around the OUYA Kickstarter. And I mean, it's similar stuff where the OUYA Kickstarter at the time became one of the biggest Kickstarters. I guess it was second to Pebble, but it was the biggest games one. Yeah. And was a couple weeks ago, there was a bunch of news around how Serial became the most subscribed podcast at 1.5 million. I'm sure it went exponentially larger as a result of all that press. Mm-hmm. So I just wonder how she's feeling about it, because they are, she's editing it as it goes. Right. They aren't all locked in right now, and so, how you have to be really strong with, I think, your original goals for it and like what she wanted to get out of it as opposed to what everyone's writing about it. And yeah, it must be, I just imagine there are a lot of pretty intense conversations happening.
Yeah, it's all alive journalism too.
Yeah, it's the weight and responsibility of like, now do you feel like you're somewhat obligated, or like these people's lives and what they perceive of these people are now in your hands? It reminds me a bit of when going a little bit way back, like the West Memphis 3 documentary stuff that was on HBO originally, and then just kept spiraling forward until all the legal action finally took place. It's I don't want to say it's almost like playing some God type stuff going on with these people's lives, but yeah, I can only imagine the additional tension out of this experiment.
Yeah, and that's what I don't know if I just noticed it more this episode because of all that, but I just noticed her saying a lot of like, personally, I don't believe this, or well, personally, I'm inclined to believe this person, and yeah, I don't know if I was just more aware of it, or if she feels like more obligated, or what her responsibility is there when she's making assessments about these people and whether they're telling the truth or not.
Yeah, I went back and I showed it to my girlfriend, and so I listened to everything again. And she makes sure to like be very clear when she's editorializing right in the beginning, to like express that like these are her opinions, which I think is kind of refreshing. Like she tries to make it very clear when she's injecting something like that. But yeah, it's totally cool, totally different. And like as it's going now, the story is changing. Like because I've heard her say like, someone started listening to the podcast and then they called me and told me this, right? If you remember that episode. So interesting new types of journalism happening.
On a related note, that Dragon Cancer hit its goal for the Kickstarter. It still has 5 days to go, so please, if you haven't, or if you, I did a post over the weekend that got some great responses to it of just, if you marked it for later to fund it or revisit it, like, please go now. They have 5 days left, so.
Yeah, I'm going to up my ante on that, and we retweeted their G-Chat YouTube video that they did over the weekend as they reached their goal. So you go to our Twitter, go to Ryan Green's, you can rewatch them hitting that milestone and just learn more about the game. So yeah, super excited for them to reach their goal, and just really happy they'll be able to share their story with everyone soon.
Yeah, very cool. We have some questions in.
Wow.
Yeah. Question for Mr. Tim Groupman. How to create a condition like, if this game is running on OUYA, change to the OUYA controller sprites for Construct 2?
Construct 2. I'm going to have to expose a method for you for that. But basically, it's part of the OUYA SDK where you can check if it's running on OUYA. I'll expose that for you.
Cool. Thanks for asking that on Office Hours. Tim is on it. Neil is asking how... he's seeking clarification. How many OUYA are out in the wild, numbers sold, which you've never really said? And 2, is the 150 minimum sales before payout per game or per developer account? Thanks.
It's per developer account. And
Isn't
then
it per...
It's per game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're like, oh, my games. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's per game. And as far as how many are out in the wild, once they get out there, they mate and they make more OUYAs, and so you just don't know how many. Oh, man, I was trying to get you to spit your coffee out, Bob. So once they're out there, it's hard to keep track. We don't tag them all, and then we tag a few, and we see where they go. But no, we've not shared the full.
We tag a few. We don't tag any of them.
Put trackers, and we visit them when they come down for the winter. But we have not shared the full numbers on that yet. Yeah, no, it is per game.
150 per game, and then that's also it's 150. How do you?
Yeah. So basically, yeah, you receive your 150, which is 70% of the revenue. So it's actually you hit 212, because if you look at the marketplace agreement, it's roughly 212. Because it says you're paid out your 70% share, which comes out to 150 after you've reached that point. So it's the 30% that is OUYA brings it up to around 212 or so.
Yeah, and then it depends on like what taxes stuff is happening too, because like sometimes people don't fill out the tax information, and so then we take like the whatever the amount is before. And depending on what you declared on your taxes.
Yeah, which is why you want to fill out the W8 or W9, make sure that it is accurate. Granted, if you're putting a game on the console that's 100% free, then you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But yeah, you want to make sure you fill that out properly.
Yeah, that's all in the marketplace agreement too. And the fastest way that I know to do that is if you just Google OUYA marketplace agreement, you can find all the info there. Why is it per game and not per developer? I think that's a good question, and partly I would say that that's in the instances where a developer is making like different types of games. Like Jared just said, a free one, there's nothing involved versus a paid one. But maybe you have a better answer on that, Jared or Kelly.
No, I think that's just. I think it is tied to what you just said, actually. For the variety of type of things. Also, there's different devs that may, depending on there might be a different rev share for a particular game if it's a contract payout or something like that.
Cool. Do any of you guys have any basic tips that we can derp along with today?
I actually saw a website, it was an indie website that actually our friends at Visual Novel Games, they just released Nowhere Safe 3, reposted about, and they said it's a basic thing a lot of developers forget to do is to remember to set up your developer page on the dev portal. So let's say you have multiple games on the platform, you can go from game A, look at the dev page, see, oh, you got 6 more games, or Jank's case over 30, and be able to quickly go between all of them instead of searching for them somewhere else. So you definitely want to do that. Also, that way you can write a bit about yourself, get yourself more exposure. You can put up your screenshot and link to your website so that people can learn more about you. So there's no reason not to do it. It takes just a couple of minutes. So definitely do that.
Yeah, and if you fill out your developer page, then if someone's looking at a game that you made and you have your developer page filled out, they can look at the developer page and then see what other games you made. So it's just a great way to cross-pollinate.
Yeah. So definitely do that. And then there was another question that I think someone was asking me about before about Vimeo stuff. Again, you can do your trailers with OUYA. You won't get in trouble for doing a game trailer for OUYA. Just mark it as your OUYA game trailer on your Vimeo account, and Vimeo won't come after you for any crazy shenanigans. And link that for your game. There's even if it's a video of you demonstrating the game, we don't have any kind of rules for how you make your game trailer. Some people have done some live action stuff. Because some people said, I don't have video editing software. It could be even a one-take thing that you've done with your video camera and put on YouTube. You can even be talking about it. You can even put more than one Vimeo link on your game. So you could, if you wanted to, be fun, be crafty, have a trailer for your game, put up another Vimeo link on your game page. It could be behind the scenes of you making the game, or about your studio in regards to the game. Just to have fun and share.
Yeah. What do you got here, Tim?
All right. So we talk about Keystore so often that I just went ahead and added a section to the documentation and the content review guidelines about the Keystore. So I've added some notes about like the command that you run to generate your Keystore and what all the parameters are, like how you fill out your company information, and then use that to sign your key, and then once you sign the key with your Keystore, you're ready to publish in the developer portal. So now we can refer to that.
Cool.
So this is, things you run in the terminal to generate a Keystore, and then take your APK and sign it with that Keystore.
Nick was working on something too. I think maybe it was slightly different, but maybe you don't know what that is even, Tim.
No, but Nick usually has an awesome tool. It'll probably be something you run that generates it. This is how you would run the commands on the terminal.
Okay.
If you were going to be all command line-y.
Okay. Neil's bummed that it's per game and not per account. But that's what he's saying. Yeah. Hey, Jared.
Yo.
You got any news?
I do have news. Yeah, we got some fun stuff going on OUYA this week, or some stuff that even hit over the weekend, hit a little early. Some tasty treats. I've seen people on the OUYA forum been asking about when Santa Claus would be back for Bomb Squad. And yes, the Bomb Squad Holiday Special is back with Santa and Frosty and a whole brand new snow-themed level. So check that out. A lot of the parts of the updates are free, or you can earn them by doing achievements in the game, along with some other in-app purchases. Another cute snow game, Where's My Egg? Your two penguins, Mama and Daddy, getting your egg from one level to the other. Cute, fun puzzle game for the family. Fractal Combat X, really sweet and very fairly priced flight sim shooter. And they're also makers of, I think, Final Freeway 2, so hopefully we'll be seeing that too from Oyatsuki Games. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. I've also seen them with initials OYK. Then Aki's Breakout Reloaded, 30% off for its launch period. And then the Kickstarter-backed Elliot Quest, not free the games, but general Kickstarter-backed Elliot Quest has now made its way over to OUYA. Really awesome 2D adventure RPG, reminiscent of Zelda 2, but honestly has a lot more under the hood than just that. So highly recommend checking that out. Quantic Pinball also came out last week with 7 tables in there for $3.99. They will be bringing Babylon Pinball HD as well very shortly. Submarine Wars, also mentioned that I think before. New School Bundle, you can get Crystal Picnic and Monster RPG 2 for just $2.99. So it's basically buying one, get the other one for free. Today's also the last day to take advantage of the Orange Pixel game bundle. So you can get all 4 of those games for $4.99. So that will end, actually, yeah, that'll end tomorrow.
While supplies last.
Yeah, while supplies last. Super Lemonade Factory bundle is also in effect, so get 1 and 2 for a great price. Duck Game single player update. Landon did a really quick hot fix to fix those 2-player games and a couple other crashes that were going on in there. So enjoy. It should be smooth as butter now. It is fantastic. Highly recommend you check it out. It's got a free demo. There's no reason not to. And then tomorrow we will have the early access launch of Dex on OUYA. That was a free the games fun game. It's pretty sweet.
A lot of buzz about Dex.
Yeah, so kind of think of 2D RPG action adventure. I think we've already posted the trailer for it for coming soon on YouTube. So yeah, it's going to be pretty sweet. Again, if you were a backer, they should be providing you a voucher for that. But you will be able to buy into the early access as well. And we should have actually Masters of the 7Ts coming potentially this week or next week for early access as well. Free the games fun game, and you can receive vouchers if you backed it from the developer for that or buy into early access. It should have a free demo as well. And I think, oh yeah, and a pretty sweet update. I like to use sweet a lot for Rush Hour Mayhem. There was a pretty hefty content update, I believe, for that from our friend James. And that's all the news that's fit to print, my friends.
Cool. Thanks, man. Tove is asking, I think you're missing a noun there, Tove. But yes, you can.
He's asking, should devs make an inspired Bob Mills game? And they definitely should.
You can also inspire me. You do every day. Neil's back. He's asking about OUYA Everywhere on other platforms. And are things progressing?
They are. without giving any specifics. But yeah, we are still working with Xiaomi and sweet OUYA mug.
Thanks,
got distracted there. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff you have to work on in the backgrounds, especially on the China front. I mean, you think about preparing the process for how games will go over into that marketplace, what's going to be translated, what won't be, and just providing APKs and testing on various hardware. You want to launch it right. I know we've learned our lessons from previous experiments, and we want to make sure that when everything goes live, it works as smoothly as possible. So yes, we are definitely moving on all that stuff full steam ahead. Just want to make sure it works right.
Yeah, and if you have questions or anything you want to know about it, you could probably just email us at officehours@ouya.tv, if that's something you're into, and we could talk about it. Cool. Cool? Cool.
Cool. I did forget one thing. So we have another bundle on the way from our friends at Tripwire Interactive. So stay tuned for that. It will feature Killing Floor Calamity and The Ball. More bundles to come soon. And again, if you want to set up bundles for multiple games that you have, or you and another dev want to team up to combine your games together in a bundle, feel free to hit me up at jared@ouya.tv or officehours@ouya.tv, and we'll make it happen.
Cool. Before we start grokking, oh, there's more questions. Before we start grokking, you guys played any sweet games this week?
Elliot Quest.
Oh, you can go first.
I was just going to say before Jared did. Tell us about Elliot Quest.
Oh, you didn't play it? It's cool. It's like a platformer adventure game. Ton of levels, ton of great content, really cool art, and it's kind of like you're just a regular guy wandering through an adventure.
Regular guy.
I'm just an everyday normal guy. You know.
And you'll be streaming it tomorrow, so people will get. Because it doesn't have a free demo right now, but you'll be streaming it tomorrow. So anyone who wants to look behind the curtain and see what all the fuss is about, check it out with Tim and Coral tomorrow. I mean, sorry, Bob and Coral. Oh,
yeah, Tim should come hang out.
And
too.
I did play Elliot Quest a lot. So.
Oh, you did.
Oh, okay. You wanted to see if Bob did his homework and actually played it.
I wanted to say I played it before you said you played it.
Very well may have. I actually didn't. I did not play it this weekend. I did play it a little bit during submission times, but just kind of leading up to the Game Awards, I did start playing more Broken Age. I didn't get a chance to go through it all the way for Act 1, so I jumped back into that, which was great. So again, congrats on their nom going the week and all the cool news at Double Fine. Also, actually, it's a good time to note that when they launch Act 2 of Broken Age on PS4, it will launch on OUYA at the same time. So any of you that were worried that, oh, we're not going to get it at the same time as everyone else, Act 2 will definitely be on OUYA when it is on the other platforms.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's a great game. If you haven't checked out Act 1, now's a good time to start playing it before they release Part 2.
Cool. Steven's echoing Neil's concern about $150 per game. So that's been around since we got started for like a couple of years. I don't know. I mean, I could see why maybe that would be not the most savoriest thing, but I don't know.
He's mentioning risk. There is really no risk associated with it. That money just stays in your account. It just doesn't pay out until you hit that mark. So.
Yeah, I'm wondering why everyone's very concerned at this point, but it seemed like everyone was really stoked about it for like 2 years. So maybe we can have that conversation. Toze is asking about Construct 2, and is it possible to make a game in Construct 2 that has, I think he's talking about community content, like using Construct 2 to make a game that supports community content. And Tim, weren't you sort of working on that?
Yeah, I haven't exposed community content for HTML5 games yet, but if there's interest, it will happen, and I'll do that.
Like Field of Dreams. And you're Kevin Costner.
I am.
And Jose Leal is Shoeless Joe Jackson. I don't know if you guys have watched Field of Dreams in a while, but go back and watch it.
Who hasn't watched it?
It's a good one.
Crazy.
But who is the wise black man?
Tim, I guess.
Wait, I thought he was.
Oh.
Kevin Costner.
Oh, Tim's Kevin Costner. Yeah, that's true. Oh, right, yeah. James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones,
yeah.
If you
Jared's voice is pretty deep.
complete side note, by the way, you should definitely watch. There's a YouTube video where they have footage of Darth Vader and they dub over all of James Earl Jones's lines from Field of Dreams over different scenes, and it is fantastic. It's pretty flawless.
Speaking of Star Wars, I saw the Saturday Night Live version of the new Star Wars trailer. Definitely check that out.
You need to share that because I didn't even know that existed. Please. Please would you share that, I should say.
Wait, there's a new Star Wars?
What?
There's also a new Terminator coming out, if you've seen that one. That looks good. Terminator Genesis.
You should fly down here and we can watch it opening night, Tim, because no one here wants to watch it with me.
Are you kidding me? I would totally do that.
Everyone's all, meh.
I'd be excited if Sega launched a Terminator Genesis. That would be awesome. Then I'd be stoked.
Johnny Deutsch. I haven't followed it exactly, but is there any community content live right now? No, everyone's working on it. It seems to be slightly difficult. So Phil Royer, who did Super Pixalo and Hype, there's like a countdown app, is working on a game that's basically bespoke for community content called Battle Room. It's like a very simple player versus player game where you it's basically made to make your own levels, and he's been really cool. He's got a day job and he's coming home and a new baby, but he's still making time to make this game, so that's cool. Nick who's in OUYA is working on like an example app so that developers can sort of familiarize themselves with it a bit more, because it is sort of uncharted territory for some devs. And there's stuff coming from Landon for Duck Game, but he's just the one guy, so it takes him a little bit longer to work on that stuff. But yeah, we originally announced it so everyone could sort of get to know it, and hopefully some stuff's coming soon.
Also, if you're a Unity developer, in the Unity examples, I also added a community content example to get you started there. So check that out.
Sweet. Hey, Tim.
Oh, Bob, what?
Is it time?
Yeah.
To
Spiral
grok?
ham. Oh.
With Groutman?
Yeah. So
what are we grokking on today?
More Unreal stuff. So I had updated the Keystore docs. I had some documentation for Unreal. I had a couple examples based on community questions. There's like an upcoming game jam. There's like an hour of code week going on. 1 second. Okay. And then, I've exposed the Unreal code so that users can access it if they have a valid Unreal subscription. So, okay, so first part, yeah, so I've got a couple new examples for Unreal. I did a virtual controller example. I'm still working on the in-app purchase example, but I've got like the basic framework there. I've documented I made some videos about how to do Tappy Chicken and get that working with your controllers, and I documented that process. Have a bunch of links. I have a quick start section and some guidelines for how you get access to the code. I've created all these examples and diagrams and step-by-step guides for how you work with Unreal. And then towards the bottom, there's the in-app purchase examples for how the nodes are laid out and stuff. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. So I've got like an in-app purchase example, which has buttons that you can, just like the other engines, you can interact with the in-app purchase API to get products and make purchases, that kind of thing. I've got another example where I've set up virtual controllers so that you work with the physical controllers and then you can see it on screen and interact with that. So that's going good. There was a community question about how do you do in-app purchases with multiple activities. So I just went and made an example of that. And that kind of looks like this. Here we go. So I've added a multiple activities example. And basically, it loads a main activity, and then you can switch to the second activity and switch back. And it's doing in-app purchases, and it has the examples of how you initialize your in-app purchases and shut it down. And then I can switch to another activity and still request receipts, and it's basic skeleton setup for that. So that's checked in. I was talking with Phil Royer about keyboards and stuff, and I had an example of how to make a keyboard for entering data and stuff. So I made this little interesting keyboard thing. So all your keyboard buttons are available within a couple button clicks. And so that's fun to check out. I've got examples for in-app purchases. So here we go. This is Unreal doing in-app purchases. Here we go. So I've set up the nodes and stuff, so I can do button selection, and I've got placeholders for interacting with the backend OUYA SDK for doing these various things. And I'm hooking up that backend now for setting the safe area, getting the gamer username, getting receipts, making purchases, exiting, pausing, all that kind of stuff. So that's coming along. I've got the Unreal virtual controller example now. So here we go. Okay, so all the buttons and triggers and axes are all hooked up, and you can interact with the controllers. It works with 4 different controllers, and that works now. Even the menu button will highlight for a second. There we go. So all the buttons are hooked up there. There's been questions about how to do that for a while, and now there's an example. And that's all checked in and functional. And I can show you a little bit about how that's set up as well if I've got through all my steps. So we did the multiple activity in-app purchases thing. There's my example keyboard. Unreal does monthly game jams. There's another one coming up on the 11th. So if you're doing a game jam, you might as well make a game for OUYA. That would be cool. And then I'm working with the Epic staff on the best way to share my code. Right now I've got a process where you email me and I can give you access. And I'm trying to find the best way to do that. So, okay. So now I'll show you a little bit about Unreal. So yes, here's my virtual controllers. I had done Paper 2D to do these sprites, and they all interact with, I'm using a level blueprint and a class blueprint. So on the level blueprint, here we go, don't restore, it's opening. So level blueprints take all the scene references, here we go. Check that out. Although it looks crazy, it's really not. It's got like this event tick I showed you last week about how we set up Flappy Birds where this is like the update event. It's updating the first controller, then it updates the second controller, third controller, fourth controller, clears the button states so it can detect button presses next time, and then there's like this camera setup step to set up the orthographic camera. And this is the level blueprint, and it's basically passing all those scene references. So I have the scene outliner, which displays all the sprites in the scene, and my level blueprint passes these references to these class blueprints, which isolated the code for highlighting and showing visibilities and toggling visibilities when you push the button so they turn red. And that is set up in the level section here. Okay, so there's my level. Here we go. Actually, I wanted to go to blueprints. Okay, so if we go into the blueprint, blueprints where I put a bunch of custom logic here for doing everything. So if I zoom way out, when it first starts up, what's that? Ignore that. Okay, so in the class blueprint, I've set up custom events for, it has this custom event where it's like update the sprite, and the scene passes all the references to the sprites for the controller. And then I quickly just set those for quick references to keep the diagram pretty clean. Otherwise, you can, if you want to, have these lines go all the way from this spot to every other spot, but that would be insanely messy. So I just save them off really quick, and then so I save the references to the sprites, and then I grab the initial controller position for like when the sticks move around, and I do some pre-calculating for like storing cosine and sine values for the axis input, because when you look at the controller, it's rotated a little bit, and I want to be able to rotate the input. And so the controller, this is kind of we store the references and variables, so we're going to toggle the sprite references, and it goes on to all the logic that you need to do for detecting, hey, is the O button pressed? And it checks if the O button's pressed, and it moves on to the next controller, next button. So it does all the basic buttons, and then I've got some set up for like the left and right stick buttons, and then I've got a little bit of logic for detecting when you press the menu button, where I'm detecting a button down event, and then I have it set a timer where it makes it visible for a second, and then after a second it makes it turns the visibility off. And then it goes on and it accesses the trigger values. So you have access to the trigger values with OUYA get access, and my main logic goes through, and it's a couple of different passes here. So it goes through each access and button, and it figures out what the visibility should be. And then I have these cool little things where I rotate the input. That's what these guys are. And then it goes back up. Once it's determined, like, should a sprite be visible or not, then it makes a second pass, and it actually goes through each sprite to toggle the visibility. So here we go. It sets the visibility based on the result of, on OUYA get button, is the button up or down? So it either shows the sprite or not. It goes to the rendering component to get access to the sprite, because all sprites are sprite actors, and you get the rendering component from the sprite actor, and then that lets you toggle the visibility. And it's pretty much the same for all the buttons where they're toggling visibility. The accesses are special, and also the menu button special, because it knows that, yes, it needs to make it visible, but then I use this timer delegate because I want the button to be visible for a second and then turn itself off. So I'm using a little timer thing there, and then it goes on to the access values, where, okay, so it's checking for the L2 access, whether the triggers are pressed past the dead zone, and it turns those on or not. So those are kind of like the buttons. The left and right accesses are a little bit different because I'm actually moving those sprites around, and so I calculate where they should be, and then I'm setting the location way over here. Anyways, so it comes through and it uses the sprite to set the position of the sprite, and it offsets that from the initial controller position, and then there's some rotation logic that it's doing out here, and then it positions it and goes on, and that's kind of the whole logic for the controllers. So the main thing is the level blueprints are passing the references to the sprite to this class blueprint, and then the class blueprint is doing the code for all the controllers, and then the level blueprint clears the button states, and it does it again in a little update loop. So, and then, so when you look at this stuff, like the boxes are essentially like comment blocks. So you can select like a bunch of different nodes. You hit the C button, and then you can put a comment, so everything's nicely labeled and easy to find. And you'll find all this stuff in the documentation now, where I took screenshots of all of it. So that's kind of the controller stuff. I've got a similar setup for the in-app purchases. So this is the in-app purchase example. It's got like some static text to show the username, status, a little hello message, and then left and right on the D-pad will set focus to the various buttons, and when you push the O button, it does things. And so here's the scene layout. The next place I go to is in blueprints, and I open the level blueprint. Here we go. So I did pretty much all the in-app purchase logic in a level blueprint, and I labeled all my custom actions and things. So some things to do first are like setting up the camera. There's this event begin play event, which happens like when it first starts, and I just tell it to use my camera actor for where it places the camera, and then I do all the displaying things with an orthographic camera, which is not perspective, so that no matter how far away from the camera you are, the buttons are just going to line up properly. Otherwise, you'd get like a perspective effect and things would look layered. And you could do that if you wanted, but I'm using an orthographic camera. So when it first starts, it sets up the camera. Then I set up some data for the example. So I've got some active sprites. So basically there's this, if we look at the level, I've got an inactive sprite behind an active sprite. So the inactive one's this darker orange, and then the light orange is kind of my indication for the button is active. So I pass all these sprites back to the level blueprint, and I toggle visibility. The currently selected button is the only one where it has its orange sprite on. And so I pass these references into an array because this is my array of buttons. And then I set some variables for like button index. I assign an index for each button so that when you push the D-pad left and right, it'll switch between them. And I have a purchase index for later for when I get the list of products to buy. The D-pad up and down will switch between the product you want to buy. And I have a product array that I've set up. So these are the product IDs that we use for all the examples, and put them into an array, which I'll use with the product index to switch between which one's selected. And I've got some custom events I set up. So my initialization process is set up the camera, set up some variables, then highlight the currently selected button, and then it goes right into initializing the OUYA plugin through these custom events. So if we look at, okay, so that's the basic init stuff. I have an update event tick thing. Let's see, I can find that. Handle input. Okay, so this is my update loop where it's hooked up with these custom events. Custom events are just a really great way to keep things cleaned, so you don't have to run your lines across your whole map and it would look super messy. So there's an update loop. It has a custom event for handling focusing your buttons to the left, focusing to the right, like pushing the button with the O button so that it's clicking those buttons. And then the last thing in the update loop is to clear the button states for the pressed and the unpressed, or press and release states, so that it can detect it the next time around. And focusing left, that's kind of over here. So that's on the D-pad. If you look here, so it's going to start with the 0 index selected, and if you push to the right, it'll set the index to 1, and it goes through each button and it highlights if it's equal to that index. So focus left would actually highlight the button to your left, focus right highlights to the right. So that's what this does here. So first thing it's detecting is the D-pad left being pushed, and if it is, it runs it through a branch. If it's true, it decrements the button index, and I have this little max check to keep it greater than 0. And then it immediately runs a highlight button custom event that will highlight the button now that the index changed. Going to the right is basically the same thing, where it adds one to the button index, does a min check to make sure that we stay within the available buttons, and then it does that highlight check. And the highlight thing, update button focus, here we go. So that does a for each through the array, so that goes through all the buttons that are available, and it sets visibility, and the visibility flag that it's setting is the button index that's focused equal to each element, and that will cause only the focus button to appear highlighted. And down there, this is the start of the in-app purchase methods, but before I go to that, there's this other thing here, where this is how I handle like clicking on the various buttons. So, and when I say buttons, I'm talking about these buttons. So this logic goes through and it says, hey, I have a custom event I just called button click. And if any button if any controller pushes the O button, and if that's true, if the request products button is selected, it will invoke that request products event so if the button index is 0, it'll invoke the custom event request products. If the button index is 1, it'll do the request purchase. If the index is 2, it'll do request receipts. Then there's the next one's gamer info. The next one after that is setting the safe area. And then the last button is shutdown. I don't actually have an action hooked up for the pause event because I just normally I'll detect a pause event and just set the button index to this pause thing and highlight so you can see, oh yeah, it detected my pause. And the best part of all this stuff, okay, so now that we got all those button clicking out of the way, is here's all the in-app purchase methods that I've exposed for Unreal. So initially, you want to set your developer ID from the developer portal. So you use add init OUYA plugin values, which it takes the key of that thing, and then the value you get, which is your UID from the developer portal. And then for this example, like every time I click on something, I have a text status message on the screen, and it updates the text there. So it will say, hey, it's adding the init plugin values. These red lines here are delegates. So those are like callbacks. So instead of like invoking a method that takes a while or whatever, you just invoke it and then you wait for the callback to happen. So for all the in-app purchase methods, they have success and failure callbacks. And then you get called back after it's invoked the thing. And then I just set the text again for, hey, this succeeded or failed. And the failure callback will get an error code in the message. And I'm not using that in the example yet, but I will. And you'll see a similar setup for the next thing. So your first step is adding your developer key, which I do here. The next step is actually initializing the plugin. And again, it takes a success and fail event delegate, which oddly delegates are this right little box to the right of the method. To me, I kind of think it should be on the left because, I don't know, it should just be on the left sometimes. Anyways, so initializing the plugin, it has a success event and a failure event. And again, I'm setting the text to say, hey, it succeeded or not. And then we get into, once you've got your OUYA plugin initialized, you can do all the cool stuff, which is like getting products, doing purchases, that kind of thing. So here's some custom events to do that. So requesting products, that gets your product details for a list of products. And I use a variable reference. Initially, when it started, we set up an array. And so I'm using that products array to get the details about it. It has the success, failure, and cancel delegates here. Use the reference to the OUYA SDK. And then I just set the products. I set text in the status text to say, hey, I'm requesting products. And then sometime later, you'll get your callbacks. So you have a success callback, a failure callback, and a cancel callback, which are possibilities, and they update their text when you invoke the request products method. And okay, so when you request products, this part I'm adding right now. So the success event will actually have parameters, and I'll actually get an array of products here, which I'll show you next week. Okay, so requesting a product, that's that one. Requesting a purchase, this would open up the purchase dialog. I'm giving it the product array and then the product index, which is which one to purchase, and then it passes that string as a purchasable. Again, it has the success, failure, and cancel callbacks. When I invoke all the IAP methods, I'm just setting text to say, hey, what's going on? And then when the callback gets invoked, I'm updating the text again to say, was it successful? Did it fail, or was it canceled? On the failure, all the failures have an error code and an error message associated with them. Cancel is just like the user canceled the purchase by clicking the cancel on the purchase dialog. And the success event will actually have an input for a purchase result. I think that's what it is. And then you can also do requesting receipts. That one doesn't have any parameters. You just have the success, failure, and cancel callbacks. When you invoked the method, it's updating the text on the status page, and when I keep saying that, it's just this text right here where it says status. So it'll say status : and then the message that I'm setting there. So requesting purchase, let's see, receipts. So the success event for receipts will just, one of the inputs for the custom event will be an array of receipts. And then you can loop through those and find out, was your game purchased, or do you see your entitlement there? And that's requesting receipts. There's just a few more here. So gamer info, same setup. When you invoke the thing, it sets the text, it has the callbacks, and in the success event, you're actually going to get a gamer info actor, which will give you access to the username and UID, which is like, hey Bob, something in your game will say, hey Bob, or hey user. Okay, setting the safe area. Safe area is another custom event. It takes an amount, which is a float. Passing 0 would be like a full border on the side. Passing 1 would be no border. So, and then again, it has success and failure callbacks. Updates the status text, and then when we get the callbacks, we update the status text again to say, hey, did it succeed or not? And visually, you're going to see, like, when you set it, you'll see the view change, so it has a border. And then the last one is the shutdown. So when you want to exit your game, you can explicitly call it shutdown, which will shut down the OUYA SDK nicely. As a success and failure event, you'll see like the success event like for like 1 tick, and then it's gone because the application closes. And those are all that's how the in-app purchase example is going. I've exposed all these methods here. There'll probably be some more for like Tozalil was asked. Oh wait, I gotta say it right. Tozalil. He was asking about how do you check if you're running on the OUYA or not, and I'll add a method for that will say so you can have custom nodes here that say we only want to run it when we're on an OUYA. And yeah, so that's the Unreal updates. Stay tuned. If you have an Unreal subscription, mail me. I'll get you access to the source code, and you can do all this stuff.
Can developers get the early OUYA OTA beta versions to test if the game is getting issues with a new update? Random question from Tozalil.
Okay, so he's asking like, oh, early. Okay, so not like the last
early access to upcoming OTAs.
I think we have some sort of beta thing for that. They have to sign up.
Email
that
Tim.
kind of thing. Well, I can't give access to that. They have to email.
Tim Grotman.
You heard it here first. Email tgrotman@ouya.qna.
Yeah. I don't give out that link, but Guts might. You can check with Guts and see how he handles that for people.
Fair enough. Tim, what did you eat this week?
Coolest thing, I don't know, Mexican.
Cannibal.
I had something cooler. Oh, here we go. I was gonna say I went to Costco and I got those turkey wrap things, and I was looking for a new car eating turkey wraps. It was pretty awesome.
Turkey wrap. All right, solid. Costco turkey wrap. Can you beat that, Jared?
Hold on. I think I can. That's something I never thought I'd end up doing, but my dad gave us a free 3-meal package from Blue Apron, where here's all the ingredients already cut up, and you just cook it and mix it together and have an adventure. So we did a couple of those, and it was fun. Definitely took longer than I thought it would, but we did these chicken breast cutlets that in panko breadcrumbs and a mustard glaze thing, and with a beet and apple toasted walnut salads. I'm toasting my own walnuts, and put that all together, and I didn't give a salmonella, so I call that a success. I don't really grill chicken or pan fry stuff or any of that breading shenanigans, so but it was quite good. I mean, the ingredients were quality, like the chicken was really good, and all the produce was fresh. We did another dish that was kind of like a curry, the coconut milk and all the kind of crazy spices and everything all mostly measured out. and with shrimp and everything. And that was really good too. So I was impressed. You definitely end up washing a lot of dishes, but cooking was fun.
Cool.
Anytime you don't get salmonella, it's a win.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I'm not throwing up the shrimp and the chicken you sent me in the mail. Then I consider that a nice win.
I win almost every day.
Thanksgiving was definitely a better meal, but it was good. We made schnitzel. Awesome.
Kellee?
So my husband had his company dinner party at this restaurant, Bestia, which is amazing.
Oh.
Everything they do is
We're all gonna
awesome.
lose now.
So I looked up, and so I had my favorite dish that I had, which I wasn't expecting. It was something I don't think I've ever ordered before, but it's pan-roasted chicken gizzards with roasted beets, Belgian endive, and aged caprasarda. It was really freaking good. The texture was just perfect.
Perfect gizzard.
Perfect gizzards.
Perfect gizzards.
I'm really particular about my gizzards.
I feel like that's probably why I don't order them, is that one should be quite particular about gizzards. They seem like a really hard meat to do right, I would imagine. That it's very easy to get the texture off.
My brother-in-law.
We don't touch any of that in our turkey to the extent like, maybe we'll heat these up and feed them to the dogs because we don't know.
Right.
Out of curiosity, what did your husband get? Just because I want to hear more about what you had.
Well, when we kind of just order a bunch of food, it's always the way to go. What else we had? Grilled octopus and calamari salad. There are pizzas and pastas, but I'm allergic to gluten, so I didn't get to eat any of those. But I hear they do a really great squid ink pasta. The meat was a 39-ounce Boulder Valley 28-day dry-aged bone-in ribeye, which was super awesome.
Nice. I'm going to have to maybe make that my birthday.
Yeah. But seriously, I mean, the restaurant, it's like we got like just a regular endive salad, and it's like the best endive salad you've ever had. I was like, I didn't know it could be so good.
Wow. So it looks like Tim is still in the lead.
For Mexican.
No, it was a turkey wrap from Costco. Definitely good stuff.
Love it.
My brother-in-law made like twice baked potato, but I don't think that beats chicken gizzard.
That's a good one though.
It was good. It was super good. But
what was in it?
It was like the potato, and then whatever the inside is made out of, and then like cheese.
Like cheese.
Yeah, and then like bacon on it.
Oh.
You know, one thing you could do for round two, you take that baked potato and you turn it into farmer's breakfast. That's when you make a potato and then you put it in scrambled eggs and it turns into like an omelet, but with a potato in it. It's pretty good.
Like Spanish tortilla. Cool. Well, Kellee, you get the win. Congratulations. Yay. All right. Sorry, Tim. Second place for you with the Costco wrap.
I heard beats and all that. It always reminds me of the episode of Portlandia where they have a 911 emergency call center where every emergency is beat related. It's like, there's blood everywhere. No, it's beats.
I haven't seen that. That's good.
A friend of mine went to the hospital for that, so it's definitely not fake.
All right, guys. Well.
Love ya.
Yeah. Love you back. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.